Shadow Slave Chapter 46 Experience. After making sure Cassie was hidden securely, Sunny and Nephice pressed ahead to confront the looming threat of the scavengers. Soon, two massive figures loomed in the distance, casting long, eerie shadows. With her expression focused and lips pressed into a line, Nephice gave a quick glance back. "Keep up," she instructed. Then, dropping low like a sprinter at the start of a race, she inhaled deeply and launched herself forward. Damn it! Sunny quickly melted into the thick shadows clinging to the labyrinth wall and sprinted after her. But no matter how hard he pushed himself, the gap between them only widened. A fleeting memory crossed his mind. Nephice leading the way across the bridge to the academy. Was he always meant to trail behind her? She moved with inhuman speed, a blur of motion, her blade dragging behind her in one hand, the other arm slicing through the air. It was as if she were flying rather than running. The scavengers were slow to react. It took them a moment to register her presence, and by the time they did, she was nearly upon them. With crazed eyes and frothing mandibles, the creatures let out a screech and charged. But Nephice didn't flinch. She sprinted right at them, seemingly intent on crashing into their monstrous bodies, for razor-sharp pincers lunged at her. At the final moment, she twisted and dropped into a slide, her momentum carrying her through the mud between the two beasts. Her sword plunged into the ground to halt her slide just in time. A split second slower, and she would have been skewered by a claw. She's insane. Before Sunny could fully process her daring move, one scavenger turned to engage her, blocking Sunny's line of sight. The clash of steel against carapace echoed around him, but he had his own opponent to deal with. Thanks to Nephice's bold maneuver, the second creature was momentarily behind its companion and hadn't yet turned to face Sunny. Seizing the chance, Sunny sprinted up a coral outcrop and launched himself through the air, targeting a vulnerable spot between the scavenger's armor plates. His shadow clung to the azure blade, but the beast shifted at the last second. His blade struck the solid center of an armored plate and skidded off harmlessly. Crap! Instead of delivering a killing blow, he'd achieved nothing. Worse yet, he now found himself clinging awkwardly to the monster's back. With a violent shake, the creature threw him off. Sunny crashed into the wall of the labyrinth, the impact knocking the air out of his lungs. Dazed, he collapsed into the mud. This is bad. An instinct made him roll just in time as something smashed into the wall beside him, sending shards of coral flying. Then, a powerful strike launched him backward. But Sunny had already regained his senses. Twisting in midair, he landed on his feet, staggered a few steps, and raised his sword in both hands, just like Nephice had taught him. The scavenger charged. Repetition. Experience. The shadow wrapped itself from his sword to his hand, up his arm, and across his entire body. Strength, speed, and resilience flooded into him. Would it be enough? A pincer lashed out from each side. No time to dodge. So he did the only thing that made sense. He dove forward, straight into the danger zone. The pincer snapped shut behind him, barely missing. It was suicidal but necessary. His weapon's range was too short to fight from afar. He had to close the gap. Before the beast could adjust, Sunny struck. His body moved from muscle memory, instinct honed by countless hours of repetition. He raised his sword and brought it down in a powerful, precise arc. The blade hit the scavenger's front leg joint and sheared through it cleanly. Blue ichor sprayed out. I actually hit it? There was no time to marvel. The creature stumbled, unbalanced by the missing limb. Then its other front leg slid on the slick mud, sending its body crashing down. Sunny lunged forward and rammed his sword upward into its gaping maw. A severed mandible clattered to the ground as the monster collapsed, impaled by its own weight. The beast went still. Sunny let out a shaky breath, suddenly aware of the pain in his chest and the warm trickle down the back of his head. He touched the spot and winced. His fingers came back bloody. At least I'm not dead. You have slain an awakened creature, Carapace Scavenger. Your shadow grows stronger. You have... There was no time to listen further. Sunny wrenched his blade free and ran to check on Nephice. But it was already over. The second scavenger lay dead in the mud, its limbs still twitching. Nephi's had pierced the weak spot at the base of its torso, severing the spine with a deadly thrust. Sonny couldn't see her yet, but then he heard her ragged breathing and a faint, shaky voice. "Dee, don't come closer." In the stillness that followed the battle, her voice sounded fragile and off. Sonny felt a sudden pang in his chest and stepped closer. Nephi stood next to the scavenger's corpse, blood running down her shoulder. The wound looked bad, but not fatal. But Sonny's eyes were drawn to something else. During the battle, her seaweed top had come undone. She was covering her bare chest with one arm, the curve of her body partially hidden behind it. Sonny recoiled like he'd been burned. He spun around, his face aflame. Even his shadow turned away instinctively. Silence hung awkwardly between them. After a long pause, he muttered, Are you all right?" There was a delay before she answered. "Yes. Good. I'll go get Cassie then." "All right." Feeling like he was fleeing from a battlefield all over again, Sonny quickly walked away, nearly breaking into a run. It's her fault. She should have warned me, desperately trying to erase the vivid image from his mind. He rushed back to where Cassie waited. By the time they returned, Nephi had redone her top and acted as though nothing had happened. But the look she gave him, it was different. He wasn't sure how, but it made him uneasy. "Just forget it." Nephi checked his head injury and gave a nod. "It's a bleeder, not serious. Let me know if you feel dizzy, sick, or have a headache." Sonny stayed quiet. He felt none of those things. Looking down at his clothes, she asked, "Memory?" He started to say no, but stopped himself. Come to think of it, the spell had said something after he killed the scavenger. He'd been too distracted to pay attention. "Let me check." Summoning his runes, he scanned the cluster that represented his gear. Memories, Silver Bell, Puppeteer's Shroud, Azure Blade. Nothing new. Then his gaze drifted to a different cluster, and his eyes widened. Echoes, Carapace Scavenger.